did something, it was a whole clique of people in on it. Wasn't no one person. Quincy wasn't just going to slide up on Mike and start molesting him. That wasn't going to happen. But if he had a team of molesters around him that worked together, now that's possible. Because there was always been a team around Mike since he was little.
Mm-hmm.
So if he got molested, the whole team was in on it.
Now in the book, Thanks for the Memories, which is a PDF out there. I can't think of that lady's name, but Thanks for the Memories book. I distinctly remember when I read that book, the woman who was part of it, was the victim of MK. She said that she remembered being taken to the opening of when they first appeared, I think on the Ed Sullivan show. I think it was the Ed Sullivan show. That those she said they were all I think she says molesters. She might say sodomized backstage. That she says it in the book because she lists some other folks that she says were MK Ultra, but she called the book Thanks for the Memories because one of the people she was handed off to, and according to her account, and I'm just saying this is for educational purpose only, but she says was Bob Hope, and that's how she ended up at the at the Ed Sullivan show when they were there. She was backstage, and she said they were all sodomized before they went out on the stage. And she lists some other things that happened with other people, but this stuff that we're hearing about is so old. And when I say old, it's been going on ever since they created their Hollywood and their industries. That seems like that was part of the base plan of those industries was to incorporate that kind of abuse in order to get control. Because once you do that, I heard a woman said you get to the root chakra. That's where she was saying that Diddy was drawing his power from this backdoor situation he would do with these fear, pain, and whatever, and the root chakra. That's why they were doing those.
Yeah, that's Babylonian sex magic.
Okay, I don't know what it's called, but that's
it's Babylonian sex magic, and it's straight out of the Mishnah and the Talmud.
It's in there.
Yeah,
Lord,
it's even concealed in the Old Testament. Right, but it's Babylonian sex magic, and the goal is if you have an heir to the throne as the prince, you're supposed to sodomize him to make him unfit to rule. That's in the Sumerian tablets. Once you sodomize, you unfit to rule. Right, and they not only do that, they also do it to control the victim. Right, they creating some kind of artificial link with the victim where they can't break out of that psychological trauma. It's the worst trauma bind you can possibly do to a person.
Wow. Yeah, that's that's what they've been doing. Yeah,
well, their time is up. The gig is up. Because they wasn't gonna keep doing this stuff in secret, and ain't nobody gonna figure it out. Because you got energy signatures that saying, "Wait a minute, if what I'm seeing is right, that would mean this is taking place in the dark." Right. So when you're looking at the decay of society, that's entropy. That means it's coming to its close. So as the society starts to break down, it breaks down in a predictable pattern based on historical records. And these is all designed to function within a cycle called an age or an eon. Right? When people be talking about the end of the world ain't going nowhere. Your ass might, but the world ain't going nowhere.
right.
Right? So it's not the end of the world, it's the end of a type of civilization that's no longer functional for the greater benefit of the people. So now you have a lot of teachers emerging from silence that wouldn't have never been speaking before, using alternative outlets to deliver information. Right? And these alternative outlets serve for also public notice according to the court standard. Timestamp dated in an archivable format. Notice to agent is notice to principal. Once it's on the record, they can't delete it. They can try everything they can to cover it up, but once the people know, the people know. The gig is up, right? But now we at the part where something got to trigger the great disclosure.
And is that on Trump's agenda? I mean, I don't know where he is with that, but talk was that his first go round, he had done some things. He did do some things that a lot of people seemingly were unaware of, that were more beneficial to us than a lot of folks knew. It seemed like he had done some things, but it was swept under the rug as far as public knowledge.
Yeah, well, it don't matter what he did last time or didn't do, because this time it's all coming down. It's all coming out. What was done in the dark has to come to the light. Just the age of Aquarius.
Yeah, doesn't matter how far back it was done, right? So
if the truth need to be known for the people to recover and move forward in a better social standard, then they need to know.
Right.
So if they don't understand at the beginning, you have to put it in terms that they understand. And the sad part about it is we only understand high gossip and extreme trauma. The traumatic event could be the catalytic event. And it don't look good for people that ain't got the school message yet.
Can you expound on that?
They doing everything they can to force parents to stop participating in the educational system, but the parents is determined to keep it there, which puts the children at risk to Manchurian candidates. Right. What's commonly known in MK Ultra as a hypno assassin. If you look back over the school shootings, there is almost all of them, the majority of them, was under the care of a psychiatrist or a psychologist. Many of them was on Prozac and Ritalin, one or the other or both. All of those are written about in the MK Ultra files, but most people have never read it. So they don't know that these people are being hypnotically programmed to do these nefarious things. And it leaves the parent at risk because the parent thinking they're getting their child help. And what they doing is listening to these doctors that's ruining their child in the name of healthcare, mental health. Programming them to use to do dastardly deeds in order to further the agenda of the corporation. To the detriment of the tribes. As long as we keep thinking that this is just accidentally happening and we not looking at the patterns, we won't never see the consistency in the philosophy that they using as a conquering philosophy to subjugate us. So they use the false flag event when the people don't pay attention. Then they use what they call a emotionally significant false flag event. Don't mean the event don't happen. It just means that the government had more control over the event than you could possibly imagine.
Right.
And they will let people die. Your life don't mean nothing to these people.
Collateral damage.
It's war. And they trying to fight the war using psychological methods. And that's to keep the people from realizing that they in a war and that the war is being fought against them. Therefore, they have no defense.
So are you saying that because when we talk about the weapon is still loaded, so are we in the crosshairs of something else that we need to be more aware of, that we need to get get ourselves geared up to fight this war instead of being, just a lame
It's
duck
not
out
going.
there
It's not
sitting
going to
ducks.
play out where all of us have to participate in the fight. It's going to be so precise when they go. But the part that's to get the people to wake up is the part I'm more worried about than the aftermath fallout of the war. Because if they don't get your attention one way, they got a real evil and vile way to get your attention.
Mm-hmm.
And it normally involves mass casualties like 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if once you become aware, you can do something to protect yourself. But as long as you walking around in la la land thinking everything is milk and honey, then you're gonna walk right into their traps. The reason they call them a trap because you ain't supposed to see them
Right.
till it's too late. If a bear knew what a bear trap was, he wouldn't put his foot in there.
Well, here's something. Question. Rod, it's been rumored that 350 FEMA trucks were spotted the day before yesterday in Upper Michigan. Could you talk about why that could be?
Well, it depends on which side of FEMA. FEMA right now is in the middle of a civil or internal conflict between the tribes taking over FEMA and the deep state operatives that still have access to FEMA equipment and resources, trying to use it to muscle their way back in. It ain't gonna work. They ain't gonna win. But that's what's going on with FEMA. FEMA trucks normally is transporting goods or supplies of a medical nature, something like that, for emergency purposes. But what they are moving for in Michigan, I don't know.
Right. So there was some question that came up that I looked at one program where the lady was saying that she is a government contractor, and as such gets a chance to read, when they put out for the various things that the government's contracting for, and that the government was doing, trying to get those that could build these what will seem like FEMA camps. But what I've been questioning lately in the East Coast in this area, and I don't know whether it's happening where any of you all are out there, let me know. They're building around here in the Delaware, uh, in New Jersey area in particular, because that's the place I've been traveling. These massive, what looks like storage facilities or places where warehouses that look like they're like half a football field length, and they're putting up, they're taking all the land that was farmland, and they're putting up these. I'm thinking, what do they have to store that they would build these huge, they have the big bays, but that's the bays could be where they back a truck up that has, or one of those things they call it containers and whatever. What in the heck? I don't know if they do it, if anybody where you are, they're building all of these warehouses. And I just feel like somehow there's a nefarious reason behind these massive warehouses. I mean, coming up like
Okay,
it's
one thing that you got to take into account, Dr. G, is when they do martial law and they shut everything down, ain't no grocery store is gonna be open.
Mhm.
And the National Guard is gonna be responsible to feed people, and they have the food resource, the same resources they had when they started Focus Hope. You remember how they had all of that food stockpile? Well,
I
they've been
didn't.
preparing through this is one of the FEMA initiatives for the continuity of government process. They've been preparing to shut the old government down. And when that shut down, the bank shut down, it's going to be a period of time before the new system becomes active.
So you
During that,
saying this is food storage or supply storage places or?
it's possible. It could be both food and supplies because the National Guard is going to be going door to door delivering rations to people who don't. You have the people that was preppers, but most people wasn't.
Mhm.
So the one of the FEMA resources that was used was to be able to create a resource network to feed people for the martial law period.
When do you think feel that the martial law will actually go into effect? Where
Whenever
do you
this
see it?
false flag event take place, I don't know what it is or when it's going to happen. But if you look at the stars, you can get a good clue.
Hmm.
I haven't looked recently to see when a significant catalyzing event should be taking place according to the alignment. But I know right now we going through a whole lot of energy transfer and convergence. So we're seeing a lot of things come back full circle, but they don't look the same when they come back. They look the same but different,
Okay.
right? So, but once it comes through, it's through. But the people don't want to become aware enough where the significant catalyzing event, the shock and awe, is not required. They still walk around in la la land. They
Hmm.
still thinking that presidential elections is real. And they still thinking that celebrity is important people when all they is for entertainment.
That's right.
They just as effed up as most of us, if not worse. Most of them worse. The average person don't want to be involved in those shenanigans. Not on their own accord. You need to be coaxed into some of that stuff, right? You need to be put in the middle of a peer group of a whole bunch of depraved individuals to compel you to participate in the depravity. That's why they isolate who they bring around. They know what they doing.
Hmm.
We just don't know what they doing enough to protect ourselves from them doing it to us, or we wouldn't keep sending our children talking about we gonna make them a celebrity
Yeah.
with no parental supervision. I'm just gonna give my kid to this person. I ain't know him from Iraq and Iraq because he a producer. What is he producing? No, I'm not doing it. You want my son to sing? I'm gonna be sitting right there in the studio with him, especially when he an underage singer.
Hmm.
If you're a grown man, he already know how to protect himself because I'm gonna teach him. But if he a child, I'm not Bieber age, Usher age, no Lil Wayne age. No, nigga, you not taking my child. I don't know you like that. Them kids was too young to be put in that um
Situation. Yeah.
piranha tank.
Yeah. I saw
Oh,
another thing. I didn't know what going on, but there was a. I forgot what's called the rap game. Looking at some old things, and it actually was. What is that guy's name? Oh my God. He's a producer. He went with Janet Jackson for a little while. Oh my
talking about
gosh.
Jermaine Dupri.
Jermaine Dupri. And I was like, oh my goodness, he had children, but lots of their parents seemed to have been there. But when I was telling an individual about his history with, um, I believe it was Crisscross. The group was called Crisscross, and the one young man ended up, you know, deleting himself. They didn't believe me. Oh, that's just a bunch of. I'm saying, okay, whatever. You think these people are, that they're so morally right in a corrupt system. It's almost impossible to be not to be corrupt because of the system was designed for that. It was designed from corruption. So we, like you said, we I don't think too many people are maybe looking to get their children into entertainment now with all of the publicity. Maybe
You
now
still
that it's
got,
out.
you still got people look at their child as a cash cow and don't see him as their child.
Well, they something that in sports. I mean, because I got a grandson that my son's, but he's good, but it's really good. But I don't, maybe he wants to be something else. Not because those things. It's a whole bunch of good players out there. You know what I mean? So
Going down. And the money slowing down decreases the value of the dollar. It increases if it circulates. And this is the black labor, white wealth circulate the dollar in your community, telling you, Dr. Claude Anderson. You on mute, sir.
Yeah, I was saying that's Claude Anderson there. Well, you see what this brother Law got up. 1898, Illuminati, Masonic History, Freemason, Rosicrucian, Occult, Knights Templar.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you must have said something that made him put that up, put that in there. You know, you must have said something that hit him, you know.
Yeah.
But what I want to do right now, because see, you're just like, to me, in the sense of dealing with the occult science, you're like Dr. Leonard Jeffries when he's dealing with history, because all you got to do is set the camera up, put it in front of him, and you can go take a trip to Brooklyn. You can go around and come back, and he'll still be dropping that knowledge. That's how you are, brother. If we was face to face, I could just put the camera right here, go run my
Hey,
errands, come back, and you still dropping that knowledge, brother. It's
you
like
say
nonstop.
Dr. Leonard Jeffries?
Yes, Dr. Leonard Jeffries. That's how I do with Dr. Jeffries.
Hey,
I
look,
just put the camera in
look,
front of him and
stop,
just let him
stop.
go.
Pump the brakes, pump the brakes, pump the brakes.
Okay.
When you want to compliment a brother in his skill set, you couldn't pick the better person.
Okay. Okay.
That's more flattering. Uh, I can't even explain it. They don't know.
Mm.
I don't know. Some of these people might not know who he is. But it's like making me tear up that comparison is being made.
But it's real though, brother. I'm being real with it because I see how you flowing. And when I sit in front of Dr. J, when he come to my house or I go to his house, I just put the camera up and just let him flow, man. You know, and that's the
Look,
way I see you. You know?
that's like telling Kobe, you remind me of Mike when you play.
Right.
That
Yeah.
you don't know. Like some people might not know the magnitude of Dr. Jeffrey.
Hmm.
Man, you made my day. If I was close to you, I'd hug you right now.
All right, let me go here right quick. Because you know, I made a flyer already, and I put everything that we're going to talk about. And so I was looking for the questions. We're going to get into necromancy right now. And what is your definition of necromancy?
Necromancy is the ability to communicate with the souls on the other side.
Have you ever communicated with the dead?
I talk to my mom all the time.
Oh, okay. Some
Yeah.
people look at that as spookism, but I agree with you. You can, you know.
So I know the mechanical operations of how and why it works. So it's not spooky to me.
All right, talk about that.
Okay.
What can you share? What can you share? Uh, or can you share any account of necromancy in history? Let's start there.
Yeah, when they say Jesus was talking to Abraham and Moses on the Mount of Olives.
Right, but I'm talking about real people though, not
Oh,
mythology.
real people. Well,
Yeah.
you got Madame Laveau was known for it.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's a go to New Orleans and ask them about talking to their ancestors, because we don't call it talking to the dead. We
Right.
communicate with ancestors.
Well, you know, I'm gonna tell you right now. I have done it for like damn near 20 years. I've done it for 20 years on 125th Street because before I even make a dollar, when I'm out there and I'm doing my work, before I make a dollar, I always pour libation and I talk to the ancestors and bring on them spirits to protect me from the wicked, evil demons and it worked. For 20 plus years, I've been protected out there on 125th Street,
So
and I was going
let me
I
tell you
was
the
going
mechanics of what's
crazy out.
taking place.
Yes, police roll up on me. I was protected, brother. Trust me, they would just, back up on all that. This is real talk.
So
So it's
the
real.
mechanics of how it works.
Go ahead.
In your DNA, you have little micro radio stations.
Hmm.
Each radio station is a channel of an ancestor that's your direct lineage. They might have been dead thousands of years, but they still have a little radio station in your DNA to communicate with you from a non-local location. You have to know how to tune the radio channel in for the purpose, and then the ancestor that's responsible on your DNA coding to serve that purpose. When you call them into action, they don't have nothing else to do when they with you but to serve that purpose. So when you give libations, you acknowledge them.
Mhm.
When you acknowledge them, remember, water is the physical representation of spirit. And so when you pour the water for libations, you are actually opening up a channel of spirit into the 3D world by which the energy can be tuned in to your ancestor that's responsible for you in the regard that you tuning in for. So once they get activated, they create a communication network with all other things around you, both things you see and things you don't. And say, this, I'm here, I'm serving this purpose, I'm protecting my child. Because to them, your ancestors, you still their child, right? But to your religious world, you God's child. But it's the same thing, because without your ancestors, you wouldn't be here. Take one out of the equation, and it's a different person sitting where you sitting.
Hmm.
And that don't matter how far you go back, and it don't matter what their ethnic background was. Take one out of the equation, and it's not you no more. Because that particular channel is no longer on your DNA in order for them to send enough frequency in to put their imprint into your auric field, what we call your spirit body. So the spirit body that's built up might be close to you, but it ain't you, because you got one missing. Right? This is why the double helix was represented by the two serpents, because it's always between the genetic code. Right? The genetic code is the frequencies of the ancestors that you have the ability to access in the blood right and the birthright to access. Once you put this into motion, right, then you don't have worries. I'm protected. And I used to think my mama was crazy when I was a teenager, because I ain't want to hear that, because that nigga hit me upside the head with a rock. You understand what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But it could have been worse, right? He could have shot me instead of hit me with the rock. I
Right.
didn't want to look at it like that. You know what I mean?
Right. Have there been any notable legal cases involving necromancy?
Only in the
That you,
Salem witch trials.
okay, that's it.
Yeah. They probably got a couple more, but I can't think of none right off. They tried to
Okay.
say that Manson was into necromancy, but he wasn't. They tried everything to villainize that man. He was just trying to tell us they was trying to start a race war to keep the people divided so they can win in the end.
All right. We got a hell of a movie coming out. This movie is going to be bad, man. And I think you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Gladiator with Denzel Washington. I can't wait for that to drop. Gladiator 1 was awesome. Gladiator 2. And so let's talk about blacks in ancient Rome. Talk to us about the blacks in ancient Rome. And,
I
I
think
didn't
you need
really
to
know.
first tell me about the pale face in ancient Rome. Because
All right, go
Rome
ahead.
was
Let's deal with
started by
that.
Etruscan Moors. All of those whitewashed
I'm going to go
figures,
get some water. Keep talking, brother.
all of those whitewashed figures that they telling us was emperors of Rome wasn't what they look like. And if they look like that, you can't tell their skin complexion by the stone carvings. All of those Etruscan Moors that started Rome, them was niggas. And they was the ones who put together your Bible and your social control structures, your Plato's Republic, and Your Dante's Inferno, all that was under the Roman Empire in order to keep people under their control. It's to continue. America is a continuation of the Roman Empire, right? So, I'm looking to see if I got any questions in here while I go. Yeah, so the early Romans were dark-skinned Romans. They was whitewashed in the history books to push a whitewashed historical agenda for a purpose of usurping and controlling a group of people by creating a caste system predicated upon skin tone as opposed to predicated upon like profession. Like in India, it's predicated upon your family's profession. They normally have a profession, and I tell you if they working class, priest class, or Aryan royal class. And so the caste system that they use in the conquest of the Americas, Africa, the Near East, Middle East, and the rest of Europe, they use the skin-based caste system, but no, only over here did they go above and beyond in full throttle application of it. And in South Africa, in a lot of those countries, they went full throttle with the skin-based caste system, using the military strength of Europe in order to enforce it. But that was what the Catholic Church called it, the white man's burden. It's popularized by a play by a guy named, a poem by a guy named Rudyard Kipling. And the white man's burden was the Christians' commission to go out under the doctrine of discovery and claim foreign lands of non-Christian peoples that they referred to as pagans. All pagan mean is that you are from Pangea. You one of the original children of the great Pan or globe, Africa, or Ifrak, which was the totality of the landmass. They be telling us we are from Africa. No, we not. We from over here, Africans from Africa, Indians from India. But they scrambled the egg up by giving us this misleading and confusing information, so we don't know who we is, why we here, and what we doing. And as long as you don't know that, they're gonna keep you trapped. The world is under the Roman rule. This is America is a continuation of the Roman Empire because the Catholic Church is the Roman Empire. It just went from under the pretense of being the Roman state to being the Roman Church. The church is now the what they call a theocracy of the Roman Empire that was initiated under Emperor Constantine. uh, uh, this is not comedy, brother. This is the real deal. Kenny
Yeah,
D.
what happened?
Somebody, Kenny D say, is this freestyle for real or some type of comedy?
Nah, see, some of them never heard of it. So when you never heard of information like this, you really think it's just crazy talk, you know? Because a lot
Yeah,
of them is caught up in the mundane stuff. They don't know about this stuff here.
yeah. Africa
So I
wasn't
left
named
the
Africa till after the Berlin Conference when they divided the land up, and it was named after a Arabic term, Ifraka, which means the divided up of the land. That was done under the Berlin Conference. The original Romans were called Etruscans, and they was they migrated or got exiled out of Africa and crossed the Iberian Peninsula and settled Rome. Greece was settled by Egyptian priests who were also melanated.
Yeah, you talking about Sisu Rose. Sisu
The
Rose
Cecil
is the
Rhodes
man.
went into the
He carved up
Congo.
Africa. Yeah.
He went into the Rhodes Scholarship plan. That was a plan to take over the Congo.
Mm-hmm.
He was under King Leopold. King Leopold is the one who was holding the Berlin Conference. If I'm not mistaken, I have to go back and double check that. I ain't sure on that one.
Right. But when I left off, I left talking about the blacks in Rome. So